Okay guys, today we are going to be talking about lesson 7-6. We're going to be talking about congruence. So first we're going to start a warm-up, finding the measure of the indicated angle. Okay, so number 1, it says the third angle of a right triangle with an angle of 60 degrees. So we know one angle is 90 degrees, we know another angle is 60 degrees, and we don't know the third one. So we know it's supposed to equal 180. So 90 plus 60, that would be 150 plus x is 80. Subtract 150 from both sides. That leaves us with x equals 30 degrees. Number 2, the supplementary angle to 35 degrees. Supplementary means it adds to 180. So 180 minus the 35. So the supplementary angle is 145 degrees. And then complementary means the angles add up to 90 degrees. So we're going to take 90 minus the 35. 10, 8, 5, 5. So this is going to be 55 degrees. Okay, so moving on, today we're doing our learning objective is we are going to learn to use properties of congruent figures to solve problems. So we're going to write some vocab words. The first term we need to talk about is correspondence, or we say corresponding a lot. So correspondence is just a way of matching two sets of objects. And I'll explain more what I mean by that when we do an example. Okay, and all of these examples are going to be about congruent figures. And so that is just figures with the same side lengths and angle measures. I'm going to put a little note here that all congruent figures have corresponding, and I'll explain what this means. I'm going to be short, angles and sides. Okay, so the entire lesson we're going to be writing congruency statements. So if we know two figures are congruent, then we know that every pair of corresponding parts are congruent. So those parts that match each other, those parts that are equivalent. Okay, so we're going to do this example together. I'm going to show you what I mean. So first, let's look at these triangles. Okay, I'm telling you triangle A, B, and C. I'm showing you that. You see how triangle A is 90 degrees? Okay, and then Q is also 90 degrees with that little square at the bottom. And then you see these little lines. If there's one dash, that means the other line with one dash, those are equivalent. And then see how AB has two dashes? Then we find the other line with two dashes. That means those are equivalent. And then this diagonal line here, it's got three dashes. That means it's equivalent in the other triangle to the triangle or the line with three dashes. So the first thing we're going to do is write some, figure out the corresponding angles. So I kind of drew a little T-chart over here, Let's focus on the first triangle. We have angle A. And we need to figure out which angle that corresponds with. Well, angle A is 90 degrees, so looking at the other triangle, we can say angle A is congruent to angle Q. Those are both 90 degrees, so those are congruent. Those are corresponding angles. Okay, then continuing, we've got angle B is 25 degrees, so it's congruent to angle R. And then the last one, we've got angle C is congruent to angle P. And I guess I should have told you this, but to write congruent in math, you write an equal sign with a little squiggly line over it. That means congruent. Okay, so talking about the sides, we have to match up those corresponding sides. So I'm going to start with the line with just one dash. So that's the line AC, and again with that congruent sign, is congruent to the other line with just one dash. And now this has to match up. So angle A is what I started with. So that was 90 degrees, so I have to start with my 90 degree angle over here. So I have to list QP is the line that it matches up with. Okay, and then looking at the line with two dashes, I'm going to use a different color, the line with two dashes here. So that's line AB. And then again, I started with that A, for that 90 degrees, so matching up the line with two lines, two dashes, is congruent to Q, because I got to start with the 90 degrees, because I get over here, R. And then the last one, I'm going to start with B. So I've got BC, three dashes, BC is congruent to. Now angle B, I can see over here, is congruent to angle R. So I know I got to start with the R. And so R connects to P. Oops. Okay, so now we've proven that all the angles have corresponding angles and all the sides have corresponding sides. So we can say a congruent statement here that triangle ABC is congruent. There's that sign, is congruent to triangle. Now this has to match up again. Angle A corresponds to angle Q, so that's got to go first. B corresponds to R, so it has to go in the same order, and C corresponds to P, so in the same order there. So the congruency statement is triangle ABC is congruent to triangle QRP. Okay, and I kind of skipped this here, but this statement is the first triangle can be named triangle ABC. We already know that. To complete the congruent statement, the vertices in the second triangle have to be written in order. And I told you this when we were just writing the congruent statement of the congruence. All right, so we are going to move on to example 2. We have triangles again this time as our figures. Okay, so looking at our triangles, we have ABC and triangle DEF. So we need to figure out a congruency statement, but first we have to list all of our corresponding angles and sides. Okay, so let's start with that 90 degree angle. It's just easy for me. So that's angle B corresponds to the other 90 degree angle, which is angle E. Okay, then angle C, which is 50 degrees. We have to find the other one that's 50 degrees. So it corresponds to angle F. And then the last one, angle A, corresponds to 40 degrees, angle D. Then again, we have those dashes to show us that the sides are congruent. So I'll start with the one dash. We have side BA is congruent. And we started with the 90 degrees, so ED. All right. And then we'll go down this diagonal. So we have side AC is congruent to the side DF, because D is the 40 degrees, and so is A, so DF. And then the last one we have is CB is congruent to, starts with the 50, so F. So now that we've listed all of the corresponding angles and sides, we can say that triangle ABC is congruent to, it has to be in the order. So congruent to A is D. So triangle D, and then congruent to B is E, and congruent to C is F. So it has to go in that order. Order matters for sure. Okay, let's move on to example 3. Okay, example 3, we have triangle XYZ and then MNP. So we should have our angles and our sides. And I'm going to stop the video now before I run out of time.